now we have the fun part, and we've got a good, cozy, nice, good group still here. And I think the most important part of economics, I know from my days of going to school and whatnot, and still going to school, are the small business owners. They make the difference. And without them, we would be challenged in creating jobs, creating opportunities, economic development. So this afternoon, I have the pleasure of facilitating and really more moderating. Want to hear more from the business owners of almost 40 plus years of 3 business owners I know, 2 in particular who I know, as well as we have represented from the City of Fort Worth Minority and Business Owners Department, as well as Workforce, Mr. Sal Adamski. But ladies first, let me introduce just briefly Sandra McClaughlin here. Thank you for being here, Sandra. And she has been part of a company that she started with 8 employees, now has 200. So that's about jobs. About 29-year-old company, roofing, Empire Roofing. Some of you may know, I'm familiar with it in my former life, and off Sun Valley in 820 location. And she does roofing all over the country, let me just say it that way, from Fort Worth to Georgia to Florida and various others. So she understands, and she understands what it takes to be a business owner, employment, payrolls, trying to make payrolls and everything. So
and we're now at 400 employees.
Okay,
so
400, and it's growing. So let's welcome Sandra McClaughlin. And also, we've heard from Mr. McNeely throughout the morning. Floyd McNeely, he's an entrepreneur extraordinaire, I'd say. He is in the business of providing excellent quality replacement parts for major diesel engine manufacturers. And he does business all over the world, too, and creates jobs, has a payroll to make. So at the end of the day, he understands and the challenges of being a small business owner. I want to thank Mr. Floyd McNeely for being here with us, too. Let's give him a hand. I have Tom Dexter. He's here with us. Samsill Corporation out on Old Mansfield Road in between I-20 and Miller. Some of you may not know where that is, but it's a part of, it's not really Forest Hill, but it's still Fort Worth, right, Tom? But he's been in business, looks like over 40 years business. Started by 2 brothers. They have payrolls to meet. Estimated employees, 160 employees, and a $40 million total sales. That's what I've got here. So Samsill is the world's largest independently owned manufacturer of business accessories, laptop cases, media storage, ring binders, and sheet protectors. So if you can imagine $40 million of that, that's business. That's a lot of business. So again, thank you for being here, Tom. Thank you. Sal Adamski, who I know, friend, partner, he's about workforce. Sal's been in the business for a long time, at least 20 plus years or more, and he's still there. And so he knows, I call him the workforce guru. So he understands about training, about creating opportunities for folks and finding jobs for these small business owners. So we want to thank Sal for being here also. And finally, William Johnson, he's with the City of Fort Worth Housing and Economic Development Department, specifically the Minority and Business and Women-Owned Enterprises. And the Business Assistance Center, where I'm officed out of. I've known William for probably 6 or 7 years. Prior to the City of Fort Worth, he was with the DFW Airport in a similar capacity. So he understands how to bring the small business owners and provide opportunities, contracting opportunities through the city for the minority businesses. So we want to welcome all of you here. And first and foremost, let me just open it up first, Sandra first, with just opening statement brief about the challenges today in being a small business owner.
There's so many. Just following up, just complying with governmental regulations. I think that's our biggest one, is just being able to, between DOT and any healthcare issues, payroll taxes, workers' comp, just running a business, there's so many things to do and to comply with. It seems like we have a lot more people in the office just to do that, just to run the business. And I know that we are larger than we were when we began, but there's always a report or somebody that's going to come and oversee, and I guess that's my biggest thing is I don't get to do roofing or trash or my real estate. I manage people and just the day-to-day problems that happen in a small business.
Mr. McNeely?
I have to agree with her 100%. I'm in a different facet of the business. I have to deal with EPA emissions, export emissions, and stuff like that that we find ourselves having to deal with every day. I just returned from Detroit, where the Department of Energy and the EPA put on a conference for all the scientists from around the world working on exhaust emissions. And so, but we still have more and more regulations every day. I work hard to make sure that we get a good buck for our products so I can maintain my employees, maintain their health insurance. We don't know what that's going to cost. We just don't know what's coming down the tube. I was telling some people a while ago, the business folks today are sitting at an intersection with a traffic light. You got a red light, you got a yellow light, and you got a green light. And we're sitting at the yellow light. We don't know if it's going to turn green. We don't know if it's going to turn red. So what can we do? We try to protect ourselves. 2008, I had to lay off 20% of my employees. I had to give everybody a 20% pay cut. I'm back to where I was in 2008, and I'm scared to go any further because I don't want to stay up at night thinking that I'm fixing to have to lay somebody off again. I went through that. I don't want it to happen. And every major corporation I talk to is sitting on cash. They're ready to go, but they're just scared. It's like stepping on the side of a frozen pond. How thick's the ice? Is it going to tote me, or I'm fixing to go into cold water? So I think that's where all the businesses are right now on this side of town.
Tom?
Besides dealing with, like they said, the EPA, we've had to deal with the state of California this year on a Proposition 65, which deals with a Safe Water Act and not polluting the water, and then it's carried over into products like we make this pad folio here, and it doesn't, it's not supposed to have a certain amount of plasticizer in it. So that's occupied a lot of our time. The other big thing for us has been inflation. A 3-ring binder, which is the majority of what we make here in Fort Worth, it's PVC and polypropylene. It's oil-based products. We've experienced a tremendous amount of inflation and unemployment. Also, when people are unemployed, they're not buying binders.
Okay. Sal, from the workforce side, what do you see as your challenges in supporting small businesses?
Right now is actually finding the jobs and finding the clients that we have in our system to make them match of the appropriate skill sets. We have right now, in fact, we just had a downsize, so we had to close one of our workforce centers. So now we're looking at satellite positions that we are partnering with community organizations. And we're serving, I think in our database right now is about 40,000 job seekers that we're trying to work with. However, with again, the shrinking budgets that everybody's talking about, the public workforce system is directly impacted by that. We are training less individuals than we have in the past. So our challenge right now is how do we find the competitive grants, how do we find the competitive money to upgrade the skills not only of those workers that are looking for jobs, but the workers that are currently employed with, especially the small businesses. How do we help those businesses build their capacity by increasing the skill levels there?
Okay. William, from your vantage, you help small business owners every day to find contracts. Do you see the business limited, growing? What do you see?
I think when you look at that question, you have to look at the particular industry which industry you're looking at. When you look at the North Texas region, one of the things that we're very, very fortunate in having are a lot of opportunities in the construction area. You have major construction projects going on in Dallas, North Tarrant, the new tollway, and going through the city of Fort Worth through Cleburne. So in the construction industry, there are opportunities. Professional services sort of go hand in hand with that, so there are opportunities in that arena as well. But when you look at small business, when you look at minority and women-owned businesses, and most minority and women-owned businesses are small businesses, I think there are some common threads in terms of challenges that you see. One is always one of the common things is short-term financing, where you have a small business that gets a contract, but they have to have the ability to float that contract until they can get payment, particularly at the subcontracting level. If you're a subconsultant or if you're a subcontractor, you may be 60, 75, even 90 days out before you actually get a payment. And so when you get that contract, it's exciting to get that contract, but then you have to be able to have the short-term financing to be able to float that contract until the payments start kicking in. So that certainly is a challenge. I think one of the comments that was made here, just the business environment generally speaking, there's a lot of uncertainty. And that uncertainty creates some hesitancy not only on the lending side, but also from expanding your business because of that uncertainty. And then I think the third thing is in the small business environment, one of the challenges that they have is maintaining a good quality workforce. When they find good people, and it's a very competitive environment, they often will have to compete with larger firms who may become aware of them and steal them away from them. So that's a challenge as well, is maintaining a good quality workforce to keep their company viable and to keep their company going.
Okay. Let's talk specific to East and Southeast Fort Worth as it relates to availability of employment, hiring from Southeast and East, doing business in the Southeast and East sector. I know Tim's a veterinarian here in the area. Talk about, I know, Sandra, you're on Sun Valley where you're located. Talk about the business environment. Do you see opportunity of creating, expanding your business or others that you know of, as well as do you see a qualified workforce available to you?
I also do industrial real estate development or existing buildings. So I lease to small contractors. It's usually a 5,000 to 25,000 square foot building. 20% is office, 80% warehouse with a yard. And there's a need for that. And with those type of companies, they bring jobs. And so we do have a good, in that Sun Valley, 820 Sun Valley area, there is a good group of contractors and a lot of workforce there. I haven't run exactly to see where. I think a lot of the workforce does come from that area. It's still in construction, in roofing, in my business in particular, nobody wants to be a roofer, especially when you have a summer like we just had. So it is hard to find people that want to work in the roofing industry. So when we do get good qualified people, we take care of them and we keep them, and they're those outside, the guys that are outside, the real roofers that's the main thing for our business.
Okay. Mr. McNeely and Tim, similar question. I know specifically where you all are located. Challenging, you're in Southeast, been there, Miller along Old Mansfield, near Lancaster. Talk about the environment, business environment, and how supportive it has been, and what do you see about expansion opportunities of new businesses in the areas? Mr. McNeely or Tim?
This area here, I had a choice. I was downtown with my business. I still own about 5 acres right behind the Perina Mills. And I had a choice of either developing there or coming over here. And I moved over here because of the labor pool. I can tell you right now, the people at the Chamber of Commerce and Business Development did not tell GE that their employees are going to be sitting on I-35 for about an hour and a half in the morning to get to work. My employees can ride a bicycle to work. My employees can ride the T to work. I don't have a traffic problem. They don't have an attitude when they get to work. They don't have an attitude on Friday because they're late getting home from work. Okay? The east side of Fort Worth needs to get their stuff in a sock. and let's all tote this sock, because we got serious competition on the north side. And there's a line drawn right down I-30 and right down I-35. Folks, we got the best deal in town right here. But we got to advertise it, and we got to get out. My suggestion is, hey, let's start our own Chamber of Commerce, because they're not over here. I used to laugh because I couldn't get the mayor over here because there was not enough security. He didn't feel like there was enough security to come over here. But I had Michael Burgess over here. I had the Secretary of Commerce of the United States here. In fact, he gave the first speech on CAFTA at my facility right over here about 6 blocks away. So, you know, this is a good end of town. We have utilities. We have water. We have sewer. And we got some houses we can push down and build you a new house. And we can get help. But the big problem we have is the businesses. We got financing for buses. We got finances for this. We got to get financing focused on businesses. We got to get new money coming in. The subway is beautiful. I support it. The onions give me indigestion, but you know. But guys, we got to have some money to bring business in here to support the labor pool in this area. Well, you got a marvelous labor pool over here. I hate to tell you what my absenteeism is, but it runs about 3 days a month out of about 40 employees. You can't find that anywhere.
Okay. All right.
We got it.
Okay.
We
Tom?
got to sell it.
Okay.
We don't have any problems with finding employment around here either. We're very seasonal. We're tied into the back-to-school business, and so we're hiring a lot of people in the late spring and to build the product and ship it out. And we find that there's a great pool of people and don't have any problems with that at all.
Okay. Sal, let me put you on the spot then. How do we better market employment opportunities within the Southeast area?
I really would rather have the chamber answer that. However, we are very good partners with the Fort Worth Chamber and certainly all the chambers.
Right.
We are at the table the majority of the time when new businesses are coming in, and we're promoting the workforce. So my position is talking about the workforce and what we can do, the type of grants that we can pull out of the state to develop the skills, not only of the existing workforce, but also of the new workforce coming in. And let me just say this about GE, since we mentioned GE. They're building very large locomotives,
Right.
and they needed access to a railway.
Right.
And that's one of the big reasons that they ended up where they did, which is north of Hillwood. But on the workforce side of that, they were also looking for veterans, especially those veterans that were capable of working on large trucks and specifically tanks. So I immediately hooked them up with Fort Hood, and there was a major job fair down there. I don't think it's much as promoting the southeast quadrant. I think that is being done. What I see from my standpoint when I'm sitting at the table with businesses, they're looking at certain space at certain locations. And when they're asking about workforce, I promote workforce all over the county. And certainly one of our larger workforce centers is here on the east side, right down on Lancaster. So we support the workforce from all over. And the workforce that we're dealing with now, the candidates and the clients that we have coming through our workforce centers are definitely mobile. They're willing to go any place in the county, including Texas Motor Speedway, to get those jobs. I think there could be a better marketing campaign in the Southeast Quadrant, and I think you and I have talked about that off and on. I think over the last several years that I've been working with Eric and Patricia out of Congressman Burgess's office, trying to look at the circumstances in the Southeast Quadrant. How do we build that capacity? How do we make those connections? Excuse me. I think what has been transpiring here in the last 3 or 4 years, due to your leadership, and I'll pat you on the back for that, I think has brought this quadrant along dramatically. And I think we're going to see a lot more economic development over here, and more businesses are going to be interested.
William, from your vantage, how do you promote when the small business owners come in minority? I know a few, obviously Sandra, Mr. McNeely, but small businesses and looking at Southeast and East as a location to place their business because of the incentive obligation of doing business with the city. How do you engage that as far as an area to look for business locations of placement or satellites of their businesses?
Well, I think one thing is, generally speaking, in the job that I do with minority and women businesses and small businesses, the focus is not so much on any particular geographical location within the city of Fort Worth per se. Certainly with our economic incentive program, as corporations are looking to locate here, there's a focus on Fort Worth specific. But beyond that, I grew up in East Fort Worth, and certainly I think perception is one of the barriers to overcome, and I think success that has been achieved over the last several years will breed additional success. My colleague Robert Stearns, who's here, and Cynthia and Jay in our department, they're working hand in hand with the chambers, all the chambers with Southeast Fort Worth in community development projects, economic incentive programs. And we're seeing a lot of success in that area. And I think as the success continues to develop, it will breed more success. But beyond that, certainly when we look at small businesses that come through the Business Assistance Center, where we focus on providing them with training and counseling, we encourage them to look at Southeast Fort Worth if they're looking for a location. One of the things, and I think one of the strengths of the city of Fort Worth is the great collaboration that we have. And that's one of the focal points, and I think one of the emphasis of the city, our city leadership, all the way down from council, all the way down to management and our employees, is collaboration. And we see a lot of good collaboration with the chambers, with Southeast Fort Worth, Inc., the city, Tarrant County College, and a lot of other agencies, certainly congressmen and all that they do, Pat Bostic and all that they do. So there's a lot of collaboration. I think that's one of our strengths. And I think collectively as a city, there's an awareness of a need to develop Southeast Fort Worth, and to me that's half the battle.
Okay. My final question before I open it up to the audience is, this is obviously that crystal ball, and Sandra, start us off. 5 years, 10 years, where do you see your business? Do you see expansion? I know Mr. McNeely talked about having a layoff. I mean, what do you see as far as Empire Roof in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm very optimistic. We've been really, really busy, which was surprising. In 2008 and 2009 were really flat. 2010 really spiked up, and this year we're just right up there with 2010, and probably it'll be a bigger year. And we are already booked through probably March or April, so we have a good backlog. A lot, too, depends on weather, and we've had some serious hailstorms here in the Metroplex, so that has helped us. We only do commercial. We only do re-roof, repairs, maintenance. We don't do any new construction, and we don't do any residential. So we definitely have a niche that we really go after. But I think we'll be adding people. We are expanding. Luckily I have a lot of that real estate in that area, so we will be able to grow our own company. But it's very optimistic in our business.
Okay, Ms. McNeely.
We're running 6 12-hour days right now. It's about as fast as we go. We know we've got to expand. Like I said a while ago, I hate to bring people on in 6 months. I have to let them go. But we're about 85 engines behind. So we're running as fast as we can. And I don't see us stopping it, but I was around in South Louisiana in '84 when the oil business turned the lights off and left town. So that makes me kind of nervous. I know how quick it can go away. Yes, we're going to expand. We're thinking right now of looking for property, leasing what we have out because it's full, and moving to another facility. But you have to understand we're a family-owned business. My 2 sons own it with me, and I have 3 grandsons working there. So we're looking down the road, and what we're talking about doing is leasing this 4.5 acres we have out. But make sure we get a good company in there to run it and bring people more employment there and move our employment to another location here on the east side. That's what I see happening. I think the light's going to go green, but we're going to have to get some cooperation from the financial institutions here and around the country to help us do it, and which we see the same problem all over. I'd like to bring up a fact that I was at a meeting yesterday at Mary Kay over in Dallas, and it's the British industrial group from the embassy, from the consulate in Houston, and they're looking hard at this area to bring, his name Steve or something was there from the Chamber of Commerce, maybe Mike, and they're looking hard at bringing in this area, and that's a group of people we need to be talking to. And I'm talking to a group in Italy right now. In fact, they're going to send some of their machines over here for me to show in this area, and they want to bring possibility. And this may be the group that we put in our facility. They want to build a equipment manufacturing facility over here. And I didn't really want to bring it up today because I didn't want to get out of East Fort Worth. There is some dogs on the trail out there. I didn't want them sniffing out what we're doing.
Okay, all right.
So, but I think it's going to go.
That's good. Okay, Tom. I'm sorry.
I think it's going to open up just as soon as the financial situation opens up.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah, we see it as being a little bit slow in the short term, but long term, we've got some new product introductions. A Binders for Life campaign. We're one of the main binders, and that is a biodegradable binder. We think that'll be pretty attractive to a lot of people. We're also trying to enter the federal government in a big way, and so we're hoping for some good opportunity there.
Okay. All right. Let me open it up. Questions? Councilman?
And I do want to.
Dave?
We beat up on Dave a bit, and I started that.
Oh, he's all right. He's all right.
But he doesn't need anybody to defend him. He's a big guy. But I do want to say that when I first started talking about this, having another sort of a Northeast summit, which we now may expand to include the East, Southeast, do the whole thing. The first people that I called, honestly, when the redistricting occurred, and in talking to Pat and to Eric, we thought, well, maybe that'd be an opportunity that we could help kind of take up, where this has been. But the first place that I called was the Fort Worth Chamber, and they were the first people to say absolutely they wanted to be a part of that, and they're going to help us with that. And I appreciate that. It is a tall order that we've given to the chamber, and they are often out chasing a lot of things to bring a lot of jobs here. We do need to be good stewards of this area, though, and make sure that we are always presenting opportunities to the city, to the chamber. Make sure that we don't let things go by where we have someplace that we could plug somebody in, and we'll continue to do that. And we have to hold them accountable, but we also have to look. It's a membership organization. We don't fund them from the city. They're funded by the people who join there, so we have to participate. But I do appreciate the work that they do, along with our economic development department, all over the city. But we can always keep refocusing here in Southeast Fort Worth.
Right. Questions? We've got some transportation. Let me just throw it out there. In terms of mobility, public transportation is a big component. I know Kirby's here. What does that mean to your business? Let me start with you, Sal, though. Access, you mentioned GE, Alliance. One of the conversations has been folks can't get up there because I don't know if the bus for some reason or whatever, but talk about what transportation means to increasing employment opportunities throughout the whole city for folks who live in Southeast and East.
We did something for Wendy Davis here about 2 years ago now. She basically asked the same question. So we did kind of an audit on where the jobs are and specifically where the labor pool is. And what we found out, the labor pool in this area and not only the southeast quadrant, but also on the west side of I-35. The labor pool down there, there was transportation inside of the 820 loop. However, the majority of the jobs that were being created were on the outside of the 820 loop, where there was no public transportation. So for a lot of our clients, and we're talking about our TANF clients, which is the old welfare program, temporary assistance of needy families, a lot of them, a lot of our former offenders that we work with, do not have transportation or access to rapid transportation. And when you're looking at, especially the good quality jobs, the jobs that are in the $10, $12, $13 an hour range that some of them might fit into, there is no transportation for them to get out there. So for us, excuse me, that has been a large part of our challenge over the last several years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. William, from your end, does that affect back to placement of minority businesses and where they go? Do they look? Is that a big component, transportation?
From a small business
Right.
perspective, probably not as much as a larger corporation might have.
Right.
I think generally speaking, transportation is everything as relates to connecting potential employees to employers, particularly if it's outside of the loop. When I worked at DFW Airport, that was one of the issues with the concessions. Is there's lots of opportunity out there, but getting people that were located in Fort Worth or anywhere away from DFW Airport and getting them into the airport on a consistent basis, particularly when you're talking about some of the hours that concessionaires work, after 5, into the night and early morning. That's an issue. So it's an ongoing issue. But again, I think there are a lot of things that are focused on that issue that will help to alleviate some of that concern.
Okay. Questions? I've got another question, but I'll make sure. Yes. Okay.
Access to capital always seems to be an issue. My question to the panel, you may or may not have been approached or you approached a banker to borrow funds or whatever. Assuming the banker could not do the deal, he passed on the deal, what roadblocks, what hindrances, why did he shy away from potentially financing your deals?
Sandra, Tom, or Frank? They all get their own banks, so they don't need any financing. No.
You know what? When we first started, that was 30 years ago. It was tough because we've been in business for 30 years. It's not. There is the stability there, so it has not been a problem. But again, we're 30 years old, so.
And that's basically the same for us. Being a 50-year-old company, we've been well established. We've had a strong balance sheet, so that's not been an issue.
Frank, Ms. McNeely.
We've been in business almost 30 years. It's not a problem for us on a day-to-day. The problem we run into is we have a tendency sometimes to have opportunities to buy large quantities of inventory at one time. And so like right now we're looking at a situation where we've got to buy about 450 engines, and that gets expensive. And but to convince a banker that he needs to invest money in 450 used engines that somebody's fixing to junk, it's kind of hard to make them look at the big picture. But we've pretty well run it. Our business is pretty well run out of our pockets. Every once in a while we go to the bank, but right now the bank is not affecting us directly as they are our customers. Our customers are having trouble getting funding to buy merchandise to work with. So, like I say, the problem's not with us. It's further down the food chain. So that's what I see.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
One topic that was not touched, and I know that, I'm Hispanic, so I bleed for illegal immigration and the plight of all these people. But you have to admit, 30 million people, and I guess people that are saying 12 million, 15 million are kidding themselves. You just have to look everywhere I drive, all the way to D.C. And there's probably about 30 million illegal immigrants, okay? I'm saying, how can we possibly sustain this? Like I said, as much as those jobs. Construction, roofing. There was an executive that was making $67,000 a year. He is now a janitor. He's going to do janitor work because he can't find a job. So I think we need to look at saying and stipulating as a federal government, and then onto the state and onto the city, must be U.S. citizens, and be that criteria, or legal residents.
Okay. Okay. Let me just ask in closing, final comments, if you would, with that, those comments she may reference, how has the demographics shifted, affected both workforce, your business, and small minority businesses? And Sandra, we'll let you close out, start us out.
You know what, we're looking for anybody that wants to do roofing, and
Okay.
there is nobody lining at our door. I could put ads out. They don't get answered. Roofing is just a hard, construction and roofing. In my industry, it's just hard to find people that want to do this. And so luckily there are roofers out there but the kids from school, they're not saying, yes, I want to go be a roofer.
And the kids in school aren't necessarily wanting to get into manufacturing either,
Okay,
so
okay.
it's challenging.
Okay. Sal, you?
Well, we've worked with just about every industry that we can work with in the county. Certainly manufacturing. In fact, Samsill was part of a program that we did several years ago called Gotta Make It, and we did DVDs that we promoted out in the high schools and that to try to grow our own workforce. But as far as the demographics we're seeing now, we're seeing a lot of returning vets, transitioning veterans, certainly into Texas, but also into Tarrant County. And what we're finding out is the younger vets that are coming back, unlike myself that is more of a mature individual, I shy away from the older worker type of thing. When we look at the veterans from my generation, we used to tap into the standard organizations like the VFW and the DAV. The younger vets are not. And in fact, they're not even accessing the workforce centers looking for positions. They're going onto the social media. So it's even tough for us to outreach to the younger veterans that are coming back. But that's where the demographics are coming in now. And in fact, the unemployment rate and David always looks at me because I've got a passion for the younger vets. The demographics for the younger veterans now returning, unemployment is twice as what it is for anybody else. But female vets, it's almost double the male vets. So we have a definite problem with transitioning vets.
Okay. William, any comments on that? Ms. McNeely, demographic shift in your business?
I don't see, let me go back to what she was saying about people wanting to work. I've taken the ones, my people, and had teachers come in and hold classes for them on Saturday. And folks, we're losing with these people coming over the border. There are some pretty smart cookies coming over the border, and we're missing that. That's a mine pool that's out there that we have ignored. And I got some kids that I'm going to send to college. I pay for any of my employee that wants to go to college. I'll write the check. And this is astounding how many of these. Last time I was in Mexico, I was talking to the president of the Truckers Association down there, and he jumped all over me. He says, Floyd, you don't understand. You're getting our good people that want to work. You're leaving us the ones that don't want to work. He said the ones that are really aggressive and stuff, they're going to the United States to work.
Okay.
So you got a mindset there, and it's something that's the other side of it's a two-bladed axe, and we just got to look at the other side. There's some minds out there we could use.
Okay. Any comment, William? No?
From an entrepreneurial standpoint, the city's MWBE program focuses on minority and women businesses. The Business Assistance Center focuses on small businesses of all ethnicities and genders. And so in terms of the shifting demographics within any particular ethnicity, not so much. But I think, generally speaking, the city is committed to, strongly committed to encouraging entrepreneurism through our small business, through our Business Assistance Center and all the other organizations that are housed in that building. It's not just the city's component, but you also have Tarrant County College Small Business Development Program. You have SCORE. You have William Mann CDC. We were talking about lending earlier. And so I think, and then within the city's contracting and procurement processes, we have our MWBE program, and we're also looking at starting a small business program as well. And when you're looking at entrepreneurism, when you're looking at business, when you look at our schools, educational system, there's not a lot of emphasis on entrepreneurism. It's more education to get out and get a job. So the Business Assistance Center serves a vital function in terms of encouraging entrepreneurism, regardless of the demographics. And a lot of people who are coming into the country maybe have more of an entrepreneurial slant. And so the Business Assistance Center, no matter who comes, race, ethnicity, is designed to help them in a systematic way put together a business plan and be as successful as they possibly can if they're going to start a business.
Okay. Let's give our panel a hand. Thank you so much.